you've been in my community for a while, you'll know that I used to do these lives every single week, and I've taken a bit of a hiatus for the last 4 months. So I haven't really been kind of front facing in my business, and I want to share the reasons for that, and really I want to share with you guys like what I've had to do essentially in my business to allow that to happen and for my business to still make money, right? The money is still coming in, the business is still running, and yet I haven't really been here for the last 4 months doing the things that I do, the CEO duties as I call them. So just to give you a little bit of kind of background, I guess, I moved to Bali from the UK at the start of 2021, and within 6 months of being here, I secured some land to build on. My land was sitting there for the best part of a year, really, or longer, before my project started. And it was a process, like it's been a huge process. It's certainly not what I imagined it to be. I really went into this process of building a villa completely blind, and I didn't know what I was doing. I really did not know what I was doing. But what was important to me was really to make Bali my home. I left the UK and I really wanted to feel grounded here. And, building a home that I could call my own was part of that. But I had no idea how to go about that. I had no idea what the process was and what it was going to involve. And, it required me to find the right people, right? It required me to get the right people on my team. And, here in Bali, that's not always easy. But eventually I did find the right people. I found my dream team to really kind of bring all of my ideas to life. And I still have those initial drawings of what I wanted the villa to look like. It's pretty much similar kind of concept. Of course, I worked with an architect to really kind of develop that into what it is today. And in February 2023, okay, so the start of last year, we cracked the land, as they say, and we started the work. We started the building work. It was supposed to be finished by Christmas. I was supposed to be in by Christmas, which, looking back, was completely unrealistic. It was an unrealistic deadline. And I finally moved into my new home in June, okay? So over schedule, but actually, realistically speaking, on time. And so I want to really kind of share some of the lessons of this building project with you guys today. Some of the lessons, because many of these lessons relate to business, yeah? And I want to also share with you how I've been able to do this, like how I've structured my business to allow me to essentially project manage a villa construction project for the last 16 months, right? At the same time as running a business, and also allow me to take a full 4 months off to move into my new home and also to do some traveling. When I look back on it and I reflect on it now that I've moved in, I see that there's definite lessons that I've learned along the way. If I could go back, would I do things the same? No, I wouldn't, because I've learned a lot. But if I look at those lessons, a lot of them relate to business as well. And so this is really why I want to share this today. So we're just going to dive in with some of these lessons. So the first lesson is giving yourself more time than you think you need. Yeah, giving yourself more time than you think you need. So I've already shared with you, when my project team came together and we looked at what we were building, we were like, okay, we can do this in 8 to 10 months. Completely unrealistic. But that's what we were going for. That was the time we were giving ourselves. And actually that was really being driven by me. It needs to be done by this month. And then my builder saying, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. I've learned this a lot, being here. A lot of people say, yes, we can do that. And actually, can you though? Can we really do it? So give yourself more time than you think you need. And this especially relates to when you are doing something new for the first time. Okay, so this was the first time that I had essentially fronted a construction project, right? And going into it, I had no idea what I was doing. Okay, so how could I know how long it would take? How would I know? The goal was to have the project completed, as I said, in 10 months really, and my builder believed at the time that that was possible. But looking back, as I said, completely unrealistic. Like it didn't account for the inevitable issues that come up along the way. And so, I'd say if you are going into something new for the first time, add another 30% onto that, onto that time that you're initially giving yourself, to work out the kinks, to work out the problems, to problem solve essentially. So if you're thinking, if I think about you guys here in this community, lots of you are thinking about getting online. I mean, that's why you're in the community of Digital Yoga Academy, because we teach you and we help you and support you to get yourself online. So if you're thinking, okay, I want to launch my online course in October, and you think it's possible because you have a few hundred people on your email list already, but you've never launched a course before, okay? So you don't know what you don't know, just as I had never built a villa before, so I didn't know what I didn't know. And there's a process, okay? And you have to implement that process. And it's going to involve a lot of troubleshooting, right? Problem solving, finding solutions along the way. So you do need to give yourself more time. And, if that's you going into this thinking, oh, I'm going to launch an online course in October, but perhaps you don't realize that there's a pre-launch phase, yeah? That, if you want to launch in October, that pre-launch phase actually started last month. And then there's a conversion event that you need to plan and promote. And there's email sequences to create. There's specific types of content to create, and then related to the course itself. Like if you haven't actually run the course before and you haven't created it yet, have you done the necessary research to ensure that you're really launching a course that people want? So there's steps that you don't know yet, yeah? And there's, in my case, setting that goal for 10 months, having never gone through that process before, it wasn't realistic, it wasn't. And, the villa that I've built is my home. And most of the contractors here in Bali, they're used to building rental villas, really, that are very much kind of a standard shape, this kind of standard L shape, white villa with bedrooms and kitchen around the pool, right? It's this kind of standard L shape. That's not what I built, right? My villa is my home. It's not a rental villa. So, I've built a terracotta Mediterranean style villa. So firstly, there's not many terracotta villas here in Bali. So that came with its own problems and issues. And it's built on the side of a hill. So it's kind of like on 3 levels. So with these new concepts come new challenges. And it's the same in our business as well. A new concept, for example, a new business model, right? Going from in-person to online, that comes with new challenges as well. So that's the first lesson, is give yourself more time for when you are doing something that is new. Yeah, allow yourself more time. So the next lesson very much kind of relates to what I've been talking about, and it's really to keep the bigger vision, right? The end goal for what you're trying to create, keep that in mind when things go wrong. When shit hits the fan, keep the bigger vision in mind, because things will go wrong. That's inevitable in business, things go wrong. And if you know that, and it's inevitable, it's good awareness, isn't it? It's a good mindset to have, because then when we have that mindset, we become problem solvers, right? We find solutions so that we can move forward. Yeah, we find the solutions and we're focused on that versus focusing on the problems. And, building this Villa Merasa is the name of my villa, which means to feel in Indonesian. It's certainly given me all the feels, all the emotions. But it's the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. It's given me some extra greys, some extra grey hairs. There's certainly been lots of tears along the way. I was completely out of my comfort zone with this, completely out of my comfort zone. I really, as I said already, I really did not know what I was doing, guys. I had no idea what I was doing. And a lot of the time in business, we don't know what we're doing, or we feel like we don't know what we're doing, and that's why it's essential to find people who do know what they're doing, so that, when a problem comes up, you have the right team around you, so that you can problem solve together and you're not on your own, and you can, have their knowledge, their expert knowledge added in. I'd say probably halfway through the build, actually it was around the time when I was supposed to be moving in, right? It was around the time when we should have completed, and we came across some issues that held things up, right? These issues held things up. And I definitely found myself getting caught up in the nitty gritty, feeling stressed really, because, we were passing the deadline for completion, and that obviously adds a lot of pressure, and plans that you've made now need to be shifted, all of these things that come up as part of that. And I found myself getting really kind of like in the nitty gritty of these issues. And the way that I snapped myself out of that was to remind myself of the bigger vision. I did have one occasion where I lost my rag on the site, I lost my rag. And it was actually about something that was pretty minor, but it came off the back of some major things. And when that happens, it's an indicator, isn't it, that we're too in our emotions and that we've lost sight of the bigger vision. No one's ever going to say this is easy, right? It's not easy to build a villa. It's not easy to build a business. And if we can stay focused on what we're trying to build, then we can move through those moments when, shit hits the fan and we lose our rag. We can move through those moments with more grace, and more sophistication. And, not in my case of having my team of workers looking at me like I'm some kind of crazy lady. So we have to keep the bigger vision and be easy on ourselves, because there will be times where we do get kind of caught up in our emotions around things when things feel overwhelming, essentially. But if we can come back to the bigger vision, it helps us to move through it. Okay, so that's lesson number 2. Sharing some real insights there of my process and my journey with that. But that's lesson number 2, is to keep the bigger vision. So the third lesson is really to be flexible. Flexibility, to evolve as the project evolves, to evolve as your business evolves. So it goes without saying that, the project you're working on, or the business that you're trying to build, and as it grows and it evolves, it's going to change. And so we might have plans that look a certain way in the beginning, but what do they look like a year down the line? And do we have the ability to pivot? Do we have, are we open enough and flexible enough to make changes? Because that is key. Anything can happen along the way. Like, you can have a plan, and of course you should have a plan, right? You should be focused on the details of that plan and be working towards that. But it's really essential to also be flexible with your plan, and to be open to evolving. There's definitely things that in the beginning, when I was working with my architect and we were like, this is a great thing that we want to happen, and then, when you start actually building and you look at the feasibility of something in reality, okay, it can't quite work like that. Okay, so what do we need to do to adapt it? Or some other external factor might come into play. Okay, so what do we need to do to adapt? And it's the same in business, right? There's external things happening. The economy, consumer behavior. There's lots of things happening that affect your business. And so are you able to adapt to those things when they happen? Are you able and willing to pivot, to change and evolve? So flexibility is key. The next lesson is really in patience. Another lesson here. Patience. Knowing that if you are dedicated to something becoming a reality, then we have to be patient in that becoming the reality. and allowing our goal to actually come into fruition, right? And so we need patience for that. These things don't happen overnight. In my case, this has been a 2-year journey, really. In fact, longer. It's been longer than that. I actually bought the land in October of 2021. Yes, 3 years ago, almost, right? So, I wasn't building straight away. It was a good year or so before we started building, but there was a planning process before we cracked the land, February of last year, right? There was about 6 months of planning. I was working with another contractor initially, and I changed, and then I found a different architect. So there was a whole kind of 6 months of working the team out and planning what we were actually going to build, to take my initial drawings, bring them to life. Like, that had a 6-month process in itself. So patience is required, a great deal of patience. And for you as a business owner, be patient with yourself. Nothing is an overnight success. Every overnight success that you see online, on Instagram, has had years of thinking and brainstorming and planning for it to actually become the success that it's become. Yeah. I've been thinking about building a home in a tropical place for many, many years. Many years. This is something when I was in my previous chapter, when I was married, my ex-husband and I used to talk about this, building abroad. We talked about doing it in Sri Lanka for many years. And, here I am now on my own doing it in Bali. So it's been there for some time, this dream. And we have to have patience with these things and know that every single action, every single step forward is compounding, isn't it? Everything that you do in your business, every time you get up and you think, I'm going to work on my business today, it's moving yourself forward. Yeah, it's compounding over time. Nothing's ever wasted. Nothing's ever wasted. If you are dedicated to your goal, you'll get there. You will. I can remember clearly that patch of land and the cows at the bottom of the hill. I can remember that clearly. It was just a patch of land. And so, building from the ground up requires patience. Building those strong roots, building the foundations takes time. And when you build those roots, the rest of it, starts to reveal itself, doesn't it? We can't build a beautiful, thriving business without strong roots, right? We can't build a beautiful home without strong foundations. And I'm smiling because one of my friends actually visited for the first time the other day, and she said, this is the most beautiful villa I've seen in Bali. And it's such a compliment. And in fact, it's another lesson. I'm going to add this one in. I hadn't thought of it until now, right? At the moment, I'm going through this process with my builder where he's coming back next week with the team to fix the snag list, right? So, and it's a big list, guys. It's a spreadsheet with folders for photos so they know what relates to the note in the spreadsheet for every single room. Like, there's a snag list. So I can see all of the, things that we need to improve, where we can increase the quality of things, the things that need fixing. But my friend, all she could see was the beauty. And so the lesson here that just came to me and that applies to you in your business is that sometimes, as a business owner, we think that what we're putting out there isn't good enough. We think it needs to be more perfect, more beautiful, yeah? And what we can do as business owners is we can iterate, right? We can optimize, we can improve every time. Every time we launch our course, we can improve it, right? We can make these improvements every time, just as I'm making these improvements in my villa right now, in my home. But what I want to share here is that we don't want to hold back on putting our work out there, right? Never hold back on launching, never hold back on sharing, never hold back on, the idea that you have. Don't let it just sit on your shoulder, put it out there. You know, what you put out there is the worst it's going to be, right? It's always going to get better. Imagine if I didn't allow anyone to see my home yet because I hadn't done the snag list. Yeah, imagine if I kept saying, no one can come yet. It's not ready. The snag list isn't done. And I wouldn't have heard that beautiful comment from my friend. Oh, God. I feel emotional. Sorry. Well, I'm not going to apologize. It's been a process, and I'm really happy to kind of share these things because I can reflect on it and I can see, you know, there's so many lessons here that really do apply to what we're doing in our businesses and these beautiful projects that you have that you want to bring to life that need to be out there, right? They need to be out there. And I know sometimes, you know, we sit on these things for years, guys, right? We sit on it for years. Why? Get it out there, let people interact with it, get the engagement, get the feedback, and then do the work to improve it and put it out there again. So finally, the final lesson is to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? So this is what I've been doing for the last 4 months, where I really just took a back seat. You know, I've been doing things, I'll talk about that in a moment, but I really have taken a back seat. And there were some things that I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do that. That's going to take a pause, and I'm just going to focus on the necessities, but I'm going to take a back seat right now and enjoy the villa and go and see my family, go and surprise my mum for her 70th birthday, because I haven't been home. I haven't been back in the UK since, 2021. The lesson here as it relates to you guys growing your business is to celebrate yourself. Yeah, be proud of yourself. Take the time to recognize your achievements and celebrate how far you've come. So lots of lessons there, right? Lots of lessons that can really apply to you in your business and as you're growing your business. And the next part that I want to share with this is really how I've been able to structure things, yeah? Because a lot of you are really growing your business right now, and there's definitely, things that you have to tweak and things that you have to modify in order to be able to take 4 months off. And if you are in the first year of your business and you're just growing things, you're probably not going to take 4 months off, because then things would go flat, right? The Digital Yoga Academy has been going for 7 years. But specifically, in the last few years, I really recognized the changes that I needed to put in place, to ensure that I had space for these other projects. And this is really Project Me, right? I left the UK and started a new life here in Bali. Building my home, as I said, was really important for me to really make Bali my home and not to be just going from rental villa to rental villa. I wanted to have roots here. I also have plans for motherhood. And so these things, Project Me here, when I think about my home and my future and what I want for myself, it's been imperative, right? It's been essential that I make changes in the business so that the business adapts to be able to support these things, to be able to support these projects and plans, and for me to have the capacity for these projects and plans. And so that has required long-term planning. Yeah, so this is where you, as the business owner, you need to think about these things. What do I want for myself personally 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now? Okay, these are the things that I'm going to want to do in 5 years. This is how I want my life to look like in 5 years. What would need to happen in my business to allow that? What changes would I need to make? Your business, how it looks today, is not how it's going to look 5 years from now, especially if you know that your life is going to require something else. And so, I'm 43 now, and this process started a few years ago with me being really intentional about what I want in my life. I came out of a 15-year relationship, divorced. This really was a new chapter, the 40s. Definite new chapter for me. And so, it was 3 years ago that I bought the land. It was also 3 years ago, I mentioned motherhood, that I traveled back to the UK to freeze my eggs. And I have shared this with you guys before, back then. And so home, motherhood, Okay, well, what needs to happen in my business to allow this? More space. More space needs to be created. So how do we create more space? How do I do that? I need to get better with my systems, right? I need to get better systems in place. I need better processes. I need to be able to automate, remove the manual tasks to speed up the processes. And so in the last few years, there's been this major kind of overhaul of, in terms of systems that I now have in place in my business. That's taken some work, but it's taken also being very intentional about that. And more structure, right? More structure, building systems, building structure has allowed my team to work more efficiently, and to have this well-oiled project management tool to create that structure for my team. I've gone through a process over the years of creating SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures that my team can follow, which is essentially, and this is something that you can do now, even before you have anyone on your team, if you're yet to build a team, to start recording yourself doing tasks. You can start doing that now, even if you don't have a VA supporting you. But if you know there's like a task that you do every single week and you're starting to look at this and think, I can delegate this to someone, record yourself doing it. And then when you do get someone on your team, you've got your SOP. This is how we do this task, okay? So it's things like this. What else have we been doing? Systems, processes, content plans, right? For social media to continue. We've still been sharing reels every day, shout out to my content manager. We're still doing that. The content's still going out. It's meant that I've had to be very intentional about videoing, doing lots of videos and having a folder in our Google Drive which has got all of the B-roll of me on the beach and doing all of these things that you see in our reels, so that my social media manager can take that and she can create the reels. So all of this requires a lot of planning, doesn't it? It requires a lot of intentionality. It's required time from me to train my team up, right? So that when I'm not there, they know what needs to be done, right? They know how to handle specific situations. They can be customer facing, right? I don't need to be doing that. If I'm taking 4 months off, I need someone in the team to do that, because it's one of the biggest areas in my business right now is like, how are we managing our students? Like, we have hundreds of students in our programs at any one time, and that requires support, doesn't it? It requires a support service. It requires systems, processes, automations, onboarding, right? When somebody comes into a program, that process needs to be automated, an onboarding process for our new students coming into programs. The other major change that I made last year, knowing that all of this was coming, right, was to move the Profitable Yoga Teacher program to an evergreen program. So previously, and for many years, I launched that program twice a year. It was a live launch twice a year, and now students can come in, teachers can come in any day of the year. This, of course, requires funnels, doesn't it? That magic word. It requires an evergreen funnel. It requires lead generation, right? It requires a process for students to come in via lead magnets, opt-in freebies, and to go through an automated email sequence so that sales can be made on repeat. Yeah, and then it requires that automated onboarding process for those new students, as I already mentioned. So this is where the funnels and the systems work together, right? To really ensure that that is a good experience for our students. I also did the same with the Visionary Mastermind. Okay, so this is a program that's for teachers who already have online courses. They already have, successful businesses. They're making around 5K a month already, and they want to scale, right? This mastermind I've run for a few years now. And again, that was a live launch process. Now it's also on Evergreen. It meant I had to create a new funnel, and I did that at the start of this year. So much work that went into that. You know, again, going back to lesson number 1 that I shared today, give yourself more time. I'd never created that funnel before. It was completely new, an evergreen funnel for a high ticket program. I thought it was going to take me a month. It took me 3. Give yourself more time. So having these evergreen programs is great. You know, as I say, this is year 7 of being in my business. It's great. You know, it takes the pressure of having to live launch, which of course requires you to be there, doesn't it? But it also requires a lot of work. Yeah, it requires a lot of work up front to create that funnel and then to optimize it. It's not a case of just put the funnel there and it's going to bring the sales in. Anyone who tells you that is fibbing. It requires work. You have to test it. You have to monitor it. You have to track it. You have to make changes. And again, like, this is something that I really focused on. I really worked on, knowing I was going to take these 4 months off. So this was really a remodel of my business, you know, and again, it's going back to that lesson around flexibility, having the ability to adapt, the ability to evolve. I've also made changes to program delivery as well. So this is another area that I've kind of restructured. I brought in new coaches to deliver some of the weekly sessions inside the Profitable Yoga Teacher. I completely restructured the Visionary Mastermind so that there was even more support, group support during the week. So our clients in the Visionary Mastermind, they have access to a group session almost daily, but they no longer have one-to-ones with me every month. So I restructured it, the program delivery, to reduce my one-to-one support. They have one-to-one support in another way, in a different way, but not through the live call every month, which is how I'd previously done it. So yeah, lots has been happening, lots of lessons and lots of evolving, lots of restructuring to enable this to happen. Essentially, that restructuring has involved systems, team, long-term planning, program delivery, yeah, and evergreen, taking things evergreen. I guess, you know, my final piece of advice here is that if you continue to grow your business, you know, where you will have a team one day, where you'll have better systems, you'll be able to take time off. You'll be able to completely switch off, you know, whether that's for 6 weeks, which is what I've been doing for the last few years, or whether it's for 4 months, you know, it's completely up to you. And one of the things that I really enjoy about having my own business is that I get to make up the rules, right? I get to decide if I want to take 6 weeks off or if I want to take 4 months off. You know, my question to you is like, when did you take some dedicated time off? Like truly switched off, closed the laptop? Yeah, because the problem with not doing that is that, you know, we end up not being any good to anyone. Yeah, the quality of your work reduces, your creativity reduces, your productivity plummets if we don't take any proper time off. When did you have that time? How long was it? Did you come back to your business feeling recharged? You know, as your business grows, as you scale, and this could be a few years from now or even more, like depending on where you are right now. But remember, you're in this for the long haul, right? You're in this for the long haul, and the success, your success as a business owner, as a leader, as a CEO, has more to do with building a business that runs smoothly without you than it does being, you know, dependent on you having to make every decision. Really, you have to be thinking about that long-term vision. In 5 years from now, could my business run smoothly if I took a month off? If I came away from it? Will I have team, system, processes in place to allow things to keep running? Yeah, so give yourself meaningful downtime. It allows you to come back stronger. And if you are in the beginning, you know, if you're in the first year of your business, you can still take time off, guys. Even if things don't continue running, right? You can definitely plan out and schedule content to keep sharing in the 2-week holiday that you take, but take some time off and just tell your community, hey, I'm going on a holiday. I'll be back in 2 weeks. Yeah, that's fine. We all need breaks. Give yourself meaningful downtime to really allow yourself to come back stronger and to come back more focused. Yeah, let that happen. It's really, really, really important. I'll be back next week. Expect lots to be happening from us here at Digital Yoga Academy over the coming months. There's definitely lots in the pipeline that I'm excited to share with you all. And enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, lots of love. See you soon. Bye bye.